This overhead soft light will illuminate 360 degrees of our dining room for several different looks: Hallmark, indie, and dramatic Hollywood. And this overhead look is something that Hollywood and indie productions have done for a long time because it looks natural and you can get a variety of different shots without having to rejig everything. This first setup is a very dramatic, moody one. We're using this massive octagon. Are you ready to sit at a table dramatically?
I do that every day.
FYI, if you're looking at this mic, you're like, what's wrong with your tip? It's because a dog ate this. All right, next setup.
I don't know what it is about when it's you.
How are we gonna make movies together if you can't deal with acting with me?
Are you gonna be an actor in them?
I'm a director by trade and a jack of everything else. I'd say a Zach of all trades. Is that like a Zach? But I'm always trying to figure out, how do I get the best bang for my buck on a small footprint? Most of the time when I'm not shooting bigger shoots, I'm on my own with one or two crew members trying to make movies. And in a climate like this, where making movies is getting more and more difficult to have big shoots, doing the small footprint stuff is pretty helpful. So in this video, we're going to be using a variety of different modifiers with one light, because no matter what film you're making, you're always gonna have to do lighting. So we're trying out Amaran Octadome 120, $109, Amaran Lightbox 30 by 120, which is around 72 bucks, the Light Dome 90, which is 99 bucks, and the Lantern Light, which is $99 USD. And if you stick to the end of the video, not only are you going to watch all of these use cases in an actual scene, but you're also going to hear what my thoughts are with each one, so it can help you maybe better determine what modifier works for the types of shoots that you want to do. If you look over here, I've got this big light dome. I've seen them mostly for interviews and YouTube videos because they cover up a nice soft surface space. I have it at 1% brightness right now, and it is just juicy enough to fill this entire space and combat with the backlight coming from over here. It takes up a big footprint. So I would say while it is one of the nicest for talk to camera, I'd say it's one of the most cumbersome for small spaces, which now let's lead into our very first setup, which is using the octagon light. This is like the darkest kind of setup, and what we've done is we've closed the blinds, we've made the light overhead, and what overhead light does is it creates a lot of shadow. But seeing how the light migrates, check out what it does to Jackie's face. And not one way is better than another, but see if once it's kind of more front facing, it probably looks a little bit nicer. But then as we rotate it to be kind of behind her, watch how dramatic it ends up looking. She ends up being less of the focus and the background kind of becomes more lit. And now it's kind of acting more as like a hair or rim light, which this just looks super dark and moody, but it also looks like we have like fluorescent lights on the inside, which is not my vibe. I'm using the Amaran app here. David Fincher likes shooting with the yellow lights. Yellow and weird. Now, if I want it to be more dramatic and fill the background less, which I think, yes, please, that sounds good. I'm gonna lower this down just before it pops into the shot. This has no business looking this good. This is another one of those, like, this looks too good for what we're doing here right now.
He said this would be a utopia. Look at it. It's just a cage. Gilded cage. And we're just pawns in their disgusting game. Ugh!
I need like 1 second of me nodding.
Okay,
it's gonna be you the whole time. Can you tell me how you came up with the sci-fi script?
Yeah, I asked Google.
The first thing you're gonna notice is that we're using a lot of big lights. These are the 120s and 90s of the Amaran softbox sets. The reason why I want to use bigger setup is because I want to shoot spaces, not faces. Something that drives me crazy with all of the stuff I've learned on the internet is it teaches you how to shoot one shot, but not an entire scene. And once you get into narrative filmmaking or even shooting B-roll, you're not getting one individual shot. You're getting the wide, medium, close up, a couple overs. And I wanted to use these lights in those use cases so you know not just single shot, but how to get the over and the additional shots that tell a story. Okay, and to talk about lighting angles, I have this sort of example piece with Jackie here. So starting off with like a bit of a head-on look, this is kind of like your typical YouTube vibe. And as you start to bring it behind them, you're starting to get a little bit more shadow behind their eyes or under their eyes, so it creates that dramatic, almost horror vibe. If someone's more suspicious or you can't trust them, this could be the best setup. And when it goes over to the side, this looks more like daylight. So if you're going for that daylight spilling through a window, coming from a side, putting it lower, just keeping it on the C-stand is probably your best look. Now, if we angle the light a little bit more head on, but higher up and putting it at an angle, you're getting that Rembrandt effect where you get that butterfly light under someone's nose. That's like the classic traditional look. And just for fun, bringing it directly behind Jackie is sort of like the optimal dramatic. I thought that looked the coolest as far as like getting a horror vibe.
Angle is everything. Also, if the light just looks too intense when you're shooting at your actor, turning up the brightness and then just bouncing it off something could give you the vibe you're looking for. Like that's like an evening nighttime look. If we even turn up the brightness even more, it's gonna fill the space up better, create much more of a bounce. That looks like a nice bright window.
So our second setup was this bright Hallmark comedy style lighting, which I think is the worst cinematography ever because it has no dimension, but I would also say it is one of the hardest to get because your production design really has to do a lot of work. When you do the dramatic horror look, it's really easy because you don't have to show anything. If the house looks bad, if the wardrobe doesn't work, you just put it in shadow. And I almost think like that underlit look is kind of a lazy way to make any space look better. But when the light is bright, you really have to focus on every detail.
This looks like porn lighting. So I'm cheating. I wasn't just using one light. I'm going to use the little Amaran 25C, but same brand, so leave me alone.
Yeah, leave him alone.
Leave me alone. This looks Hallmark, baby!
That's it.
What I did was I took the rectangular 120 and I put it onto the light. And these new modifiers are super easy to use, especially this one. I just clicked in and then I pointed it directly at Jackie. And because it was more of a sliver of a light, it wasn't spilling onto the wall, which was nice because I was already getting that natural light through the window. And then I angled it so I got a little bit more shadow side because direct head on just doesn't look good, and I liked getting that little extra shadow on the side. Now this setup is still on this sort of boom style arm that was on the C-stand, so that way I could just pan it left or right and that would go either on one side of Jackie's face or on the other, so it was an easy way to apply shadow or remove shadow depending on what I wanted. The final thing that I did was I put a bounce on the table, so just sort of a reflector, and it created a little bit of eye light on Jackie's beautiful blue eyes and made the shot look really clean. We did do a two shot, but I just thought it looked kind of silly because it was really quickly done. I would probably go for a little bit wider and spend some time with the production design, but this is sort of a nice single two shot, and this works really well for something like comedy or Hallmark or just something lighter hearted if you don't want more drama in it.
So, fun fact, I just emailed the entire company my grocery list, and I bought 600 pens instead of 6. So, I'm thriving.
The best thing about this light is that you can just press it down and it's ready to go.
Our final setup was with the lantern, and this is one of my favorite modifiers because it lights an entire space up while also highlighting your main character. And if you keep it close to your main character, you can lower your exposure, but also get just sort of a nice soft ambience to the surrounding space. This is really good if you have multiple characters within a scene, or you want to create sort of a nice romantic light, similar to what the movie Skyfall does when he enters this casino thing. I haven't watched the movie in a while, but I can remember the scene. And to display what the lantern does, I decided to pan it left and right to sort of show you what it looks like when it's directly over top of Jackie versus when it's off to the side. So this is what it looks like off to the side, almost not lighting her at all. We're getting a little bit coming from the one side. It looks unnatural, but watch as I pan it over to kind of look more like the motivated sunlight. In this example, you can understand how getting fake motivated light works. So having it just a little bit over top of Jackie looks like it's coming from the window behind her, which is exactly the look I was going for. And getting a little bit of that ambient light from the lantern to hit up against the walls actually went in our favor to give us a little bit more wraparound on Jackie's face. I used a little Ace 25 on the table to get a little eye light, and it looked really cool because I don't know, for some reason it makes like everyone look like they're crying or something, and I think it just dramatic. It's the only thing I can think of. Okay, cam's rolling. Also, I forgot to mention, but to get the sound for these scenes, I put my microphone on the Joby tripod and just had it directly pointing at Jackie. This is not how you record audio whatsoever. I'd actually highly not recommend it because the cable kept getting in the way.
Oh, you really thought you picked me, didn't you? Like a fish thinking he caught the fisherman? That's cute. I could ruin you. And the worst part? You'd probably thank me for it.
After using these 4 different lights, like the dome, lantern, the rectangular light, and the octagon, I would say my favorite was the octagon. It covered up a big surface space, but without taking a lot of headroom, like let's say the light dome. And then my number 2 would probably be the lantern. I'm such a sucker for that light. I have 3 of them on my arsenal because I just use them all the time. And I think I'll be using that so much more. Lighting is all situational, so what I used for this might be different for what you would want to use for your project. If it's a YouTube video, talk to camera, interviews, that stuff, you cannot go wrong with a light dome. But if you're wanting to get like a nice full space of light, I was getting a lot out of the octagon. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I know some of you are cinematographers out there. I'm just a director doing this stuff for fun. If you had any thoughts, suggestions, or what you would use, write that in the comments. But also go take a look at Amaran's amazing selection of new products. And if you're interested in another cool Amaran product, I have a video on the pano lights, which boy, oh boy, do I love these a lot. Look out, Jackie, because these might be taking your place.